Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hello, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we are discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 2, Episode 23, Crossover. In this episode, Kira and Bashir have a sexy adventure in the Mirror Universe.
Yeah, this is a sexy mirror universe.
Well, yes, it's everyone's sexed up and playing slightly different characters. It's kind of a fluff episode. But what did you think?
I liked it. It was a lot of fun. But I don't think you liked it.
Why do you say that?
I called it fluff. But I guess fluff can be a good thing as well.
I would say I did enjoy it, actually. I thought I wasn't gonna, because I remembered it. But when I watched it, I had fun. And that's all that matters.
Yes.
I guess it wasn't trying to be anything special. It's just a silly episode where they go and do something completely detached from the main plot, and Odo gets blown up.
Yeah, he went to bits, and that was cool.
Met a sticky end. So something that I've been dying to talk about. A good few episodes ago, you said that perhaps Odo secretly has his own rules, like the rules of acquisition.
Oh, I was so tickled when he brought up the rules of obedience.
Yep. Well, when you said it, I was like, oh, because Mirror Odo does have rule of obedience number 14, no jokes. Penalty for joking seems to be a soft slap to the face.
You assume it's soft, but he could make his hand weigh a metric ton.
I never thought of that. I guess he could probably change the density of different parts of his body.
Yeah, and it would be deceiving.
You just slap someone and they just crumple to the ground. I guess we're probably not going to see many more rules of obedience.
Which is a shame.
Yes. On account of Bashir murdering Odo in an extremely brutal and graphic manner.
Yeah.
Without much hesitation.
No, he didn't hesitate at all.
I didn't think he had it in him.
Disturbing that a doctor would do that.
Well, Odo was going to shoot him.
Fine.
Yeah, it makes it okay. It's the Hippocratic Oath.
That's why he breaks it whenever he can, because he misinterpreted it as the Hippocratic Oath.
It all makes sense.
I'm supposed to tell everyone what these people are suffering from.
Anything they've confided in me, I will share with my friends for amusement.
It's my duty.
I pledged that I would. A sworn oath.
I'm a man of my word. I can't
my
go
hands
back
are
on
tied.
that. Even in the Mirror Universe, O'Brien still has way too much work to do.
Yeah, he does.
Go and do this. Oh, but this thing's not done. I don't care.
He also has a really bad time, but I guess everyone does. Although he seemed to be having an especially bad time.
Yeah, that only makes sense. It's O'Brien. He always gets the
short end of the stick.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, I felt bad for him. He genuinely seemed sad.
Yeah, he was despondent and dirty. And he wanted to leave and join them. I thought for sure he would die when he joined the journey to the runabout.
Yeah, I guess it's odd. They are killing off the mirror characters here. They killed Quark and Odo, but Miles O'Brien was unscathed. I guess if they killed him off, he couldn't have as bad a time.
Yeah, he has to suffer. He's not allowed the release of death.
Poor O'Brien. So I guess the two craziest guys in this whole thing were Kira, who's turned sort of sexy bad.
Yeah, she's flirtatious and playful. I want to compliment the actor, Nana Visitor. She did an excellent job differentiating the two versions of Kira. They come off as so different.
Yeah, especially when the two of them walk into the bar in the same dress at different points. It's never unclear who is who.
Yeah, even her body language. We still have that head accessory, but even without that, it would be so clear who is who.
Yes, she played both sides of herself well. So a gold star for her. And the other crazy guy was Cisco. At least I thought he was a bit crazy.
Yeah, there's only a hint of what we know, Cisco Prime, in him.
I always say that Avery Brooks totally walks it when it gets intense. He can do highly strung or emotional scenes just so well, and I don't think this was an exception.
I agree. I guess he struggles to be a normal person.
Yeah, well, there's all this insane energy inside him waiting to burst out. So whenever he's just trying to get coffee from the replicator, he's just got to ball it up.
Is that the character or the actor? Or both?
Both, I guess. Well, I don't
Maybe
know.
that's how he's playing the character. He's this insane person who has to keep a lid on it all the time. And that's why he's so stiff. And then he flies off the handle every once in a while.
Like he sort of subtly read that from the first few scripts and thought that's the direction they were going. And at this point, he's just unable to back out.
Yeah, he's committed to it. He can't undo it.
I could believe it. This was another Garrick-heavy episode, which was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, so soon after the Garrick showcase.
Although this was Mirror Garrick, so it doesn't count.
Even though this is Mirror Garrick, this is how I imagine him in his days before becoming a tailor.
I don't know, he seemed kind of ineffective. More kind of bumbling and silly than the real Garrick would have been.
Yeah, that's a good point. Mirror Cisco laughs off the idea of Garrick following through with murdering Mirror Kira.
Yeah, whereas regular Garrick said he was going to kill someone.
You'd be dead.
Yeah, that person would no longer exist. He made a lot of comments about clothes, which was quite funny.
Yeah.
Deep down, he really is a tailor.
Yeah, he can't escape his true passion.
So I don't know how well this came off to you, but this was obviously a throwback to an original series episode called Mirror Mirror.
Okay, when they were talking about Kirk and Spock, I assumed that was an actual plot line, and that all happened in the original series.
Yeah, that was from an episode of the original series. So this is a sort of sequel. They wanted to do one in Next Gen, but I don't think they ever got around to it. So they resurrected this Mirror Universe plotline so they could have some silly, sexy fluff episode.
It's nice that they didn't dwell in the backstory of it all. It felt as if, okay, we're going to tell you this Kirk and Spock stuff, but then we're going to move on. And it did a good job of establishing this mirror universe for new viewers, as well as satisfying dedicated viewers.
Yeah, I gave a tip of the hat and enough exposition to piece things together and then let it sit.
And everyone knows Kirk and Spock, so you could sit and say, hey, I know those names.
Yeah, Kira didn't, conveniently.
Yeah.
So she said, yeah, I know all about them. And then Mary Kira would have just said, okay, well, I don't need to explain. The viewers at home would say, "Oh,
That would be strange. Speaking of not knowing about things, how did they not know the wormhole is right next to the station?
it wasn't right next to the station here because the station was around Bejor."
Oh, okay. Well, it didn't take them long to reach the wormhole.
That's a good point. It should be a 5-hour trip, or 2 hours, or 3 hours, or 4. They're kind of inconsistent about it, but yeah, they got to the wormhole in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, after they fled, so I thought it was right next to the station.
Yeah, that's actually an error.
Whoops.
Oh well. There's a few other things I've written down in the form of criticisms.
Let's hear it.
Well, okay, at the start, Bashir wants to listen to music. Kira doesn't. If they had headphones, that would be fine. We have headphones nowadays. They don't have them in the future, and it's really frustrating.
Or even some kind of special sound system that can project in a special way that only a person seated in this seat can hear.
Yeah, like laser sound or something.
Yeah, manipulation of sound waves somehow.
Yeah, future space sound.
Yeah, space stuff.
But no, just like a car radio, everyone has to put up with the music selection of the person driving or the people in the front seats.
But they are both driving.
Which,
How do you decide?
yeah, that brings me to my second thing. Kira asks Bashir to take over flying the shuttle, but why is it so complicated for them to fly a shuttle?
When it's been stated these things fly themselves.
Yeah, and oftentimes one person will fly it, yet it's so complicated that two of them have to do it to the point where one of them is exhausted. But it's just flying in a straight line.
Well, when you add one more passenger, it becomes exponentially more difficult to navigate the runabout, so you need 2 pilots.
Okay, that makes very little sense.
It makes 0 sense. Yeah, it's always just convenient plot stuff when someone doesn't want to pilot.
Yeah, can you do this for plot reasons so I can plot?
And if those things could only be piloted with 2 people, that's horrible design.
Well, I disagree that it should even need continuous action.
Yeah,
You just
they
point
won't
it where you want to go, and then press go.
Yeah, most of it should be automated, if not all of it.
Well, in space, you don't need to do very much. Once you're going in the right direction, there's very little to do, I would imagine. Okay, maybe warp has some bizarre, complex stuff. Here's another thing. When Kira and Bashir get back through the wormhole to home, Cisco asks them where they have been, and Kira responds, now, and remember, she didn't know anything about Earth music. She hadn't heard of Kirk or Spock. She responds, through the looking glass.
Yeah, that stood out to me too.
That's a reasonably obscure... I mean, she's referencing a novel that would be 5 centuries old at that point, from Earth. Do you even know what a looking glass is?
Do I? No, I only know that refers to Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I had to look it up. It's an old-fashioned name for a mirror.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that line was completely out of place and didn't really elicit the humorous response that I think it was trying to go for. It'd be funnier if she just looked at him and said, Gamma Quadrant?
Out?
Doesn't matter, we're back now, jeez. I guess the only other thing I wrote down is that the entire plot of this episode is kind of one of the most tired plot devices for shows, especially sci-fi shows.
Where you're stuck in an alternate dimension?
Yeah, you just go somewhere different that's not like a different place. I mean, like somewhere sideways to where you are. And then in the end, oh, it was all a dream, or oh, we got back and the way is sealed. Oh, okay. There's not a big criticism because there's not anything inherently wrong with that sort of plot device. It's just one that I don't like because of how common it is.
That didn't bother me as much, just because this episode wasn't trying to be much more than silly.
Yeah, it did silly really well. It was way over the top and had tons of stuff going on. I felt underneath the silly, it was actually quite tense in a way.
Being stuck in a alternate dimension makes it more difficult to be rescued, because not only is it difficult to leave the station you're on, but then you're not even in the same physical space as your crew members.
Ah, yeah, they're on their own. They have to get out with their own skill and cunning. The first scene where Bashir and Kira were together in a runabout reminded me of a scene starting an episode in season 1 where they're together in a runabout. I think the episode was called The Passenger. And at the start, Bashir is complimenting himself hand over foot about how great a doctor he is. It seems kind of different now. He's doing all this stupid stuff.
Kira has a lot of patience.
Yeah, she's put up with that idiocy for a year plus.
I want to compliment Bashir and then take away the compliment immediately by saying it's nice that Bashir makes an effort to steep himself in Bajoran culture. Talks about being familiar with composers. But I think he does that so he's able to hit on Bajoran women more effectively.
It kind of did come across that way. Although I don't know, he's really well read on tons of stuff. I don't know if you've noticed throughout the episodes, he's an expert on loads of different things. So I could believe there's honest intentions behind him learning about Bajoran composers, but I could also believe what you said, yeah.
So I can see it going either way, and it's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, isn't a lot of what people do just to impress members of the opposite sex or the same sex?
Yeah, and then immediately after he asks her to have dinner.
Yeah, although he said that wasn't a date, but I don't know if that was just him pulling the ha ha ha, I was just kidding card.
Yeah, I think he was trying to save himself some face.
He doesn't have any face to save. Everyone knows he's an awkward buffoon.
Yeah, why bother at this point? His face is gone.
That's no face at all. Not even an eyebrow.
Not even a silhouette.
Just an indescribable colorless mass.
Yeah. Nondescript blob.
Saying this now makes me think about that Odo death scene where he just goes squelch and bits of him fly everywhere.
That was shocking.
I know, it was just kind of really violent in a way.
Yeah, just explodes.
It was cool to see, and it was just really well done.
Yeah, I liked seeing that a lot. I wasn't expecting them to just casually kill off these mirror people.
Yeah, well, they're just mirror people. They don't really count as humans or Bajorans or whatever.
I know they don't really matter because they're in the mirror universe, but it's still shocking.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a Starfleet person that eager to commit murder to get away from a situation. Bashir has been talking to Garrick too much.
He turned a hairy situation into a sticky situation.
Oh.
One thing this episode made me think about is how arguing with yourself, at least a version of yourself, would be extremely weird.
And kind of futile.
Yeah, you know all of your tricks.
But then again, they didn't need to argue because Mirror Kira kind of agreed with Kira a lot.
Naturally. What could satisfy a person's ego more than a clone of yourself saying the things you want to hear?
There's no Mirror Bashir.
He's dead. He
In the
was
last
so
5 minutes.
insufferable that people just murdered him on the spot.
The way you say it sounds like it's happened more than once.
He keeps coming back from the dead and dying. But that is weird. Why did they do that?
I guess it's because it was expensive to have one cast member doubled.
Oh, yeah, that would be time consuming.
There was no Dex either. Do you have a mirror quote from the show?
Yes, this one is from Mirror Garrick. True career advancement requires a risk. So if you want to climb the corporate ladder, try to stage a coup and murder your boss.
If you're in a Cardassian company, yeah, that's probably the right way to do it.
I bet they instruct that at the Cardassian schools. The Cardassian School of Business.
They don't have strikes, they have a coup,
They have rampages.
a commercial uprising. It's true though, if you want to move up in your career, you have to go from one job to another. It's kind of like jumping from one ladder to another.
Oh yeah, it's actually good advice.
Yeah, which is, it's interesting it came from Sexy Mirror Garrick.
Yeah, thinking about the context in which it's said is funny. He's talking about murdering someone.
His plan was so silly. Like, okay, it would work, but why would they ever trust him?
Yeah, and it's convoluted, and he could easily be foiled through many steps of it.
Yeah, and if he's been trying to kill Kira for such a long time, why does he need to kill her without anyone noticing by replacing her with a mirror Kira? What were all his other plans to kill Kira? Okay, we're nearing the end of season 2.
How many more left?
I think 3. So it's the last little run here.
I hope we don't end with a string of fluff. That's my hope.
Well, season 1 had problems towards the end because they ran out of money and had to do a load of bottle episodes. But I think this was the most expensive episode of season 2.
That's not at all surprising, given all the costumes and set changes.
Yeah, even the lighting, and they had special effects with smoke and or exploding and all that sort of stuff, which is another layer of complexity. And like brand new ore processing room, all sorts of stuff.
Maybe they did such a great job with the budget because they did such a poor job last season, and then they had all this money toward the end of this season, so then they just blew it on this episode.
I have no way of confirming or disconfirming that, but it does seem their budgeting has been better this season. Well done, Paramount Accountants. I think that's it. That's the wrap.
Yes. Goodbye.
Mirror, goodbye.
Bad bye?
Bad hello.
Hello?